Hello, everyone, and welcome back once more. Now we are inching towards Beltane, May the 1st, which is a wonderful time of year. Um, Many of you will know it as May Day, but Beltane is a much older festival, and it's a fertility festival. Given the time of year, it's not surprising, really, is it? The sap is well and truly risen at this time of year, and all the animals are going out going back a way. The animals were going out in the field at this time, and the lambs were being born and things like this. Now with modern farming and things, a lot of that has been brought forwards, and it happens within sheds, in order to sort of cut out the vagaries of winter weather. But at one stage, this was really the big fertility time. And yeah, life moved back outdoors from hibernating over winter. And it's called the Festival of Unification. It's also basically the gateway into summer. If you look at the midsummer, the timing of midsummer and midsummer solstice and count back, this is the gateway technically into summer, although many people still speak of it as spring. So there's a lot going on and a lot that we can celebrate, and it is a very open and expansive energy at this time. So Jeremy, let us talk about this and see what you have to say about all the energies of this wonderful time.
What I most love about when we start talking about Beltane is people's response. When you talk to people about this moment, even in your voice as you're introducing it, you can feel this kind of like, we're nearly there. We've been hanging on, we've been getting there. And everybody embodies exactly the energy that is happening around us, just in this idea of anticipation. And regardless of whether people who know anything about this, when you talk about the beginning of summer, there is this lift that comes into people's voices, into their eyes, into the way that they're talking about this. And then you give it a sort of a name, and they're like, oh, right, oh, okay. So that's what the beginning of summer is. And most people, like Samhain, have already heard of Beltane. There's still a very strong tradition that exists around, even if people don't understand very much about it, that it signifies the beginning of summer. And another joy for most people, like you said, because the 1st of May for many is not really thought of as being the start of summer, when you introduce that as their understanding that this is the point that summer really comes to us and starts to arrive, then there's all this overlaying of joy that comes into it. And the fact that it is a massive point of celebration, because like you said, we can't forget that this point of the year was a real, everything was beginning to happen, everything was moving at a pace, and there was a real abundance coming in again to people. So they were beginning to really feel the joys of what was happening and what was going on around them. So it was a massive fertility symbol, massive fertility festival. And it was also this point where often marriages happened. And we'll talk a little bit about that idea in a minute. But adding into that, it's Beltane, it's a festival of unification, it's the beginning of summer. It was also when a lot of marriages happened.
Yeah.
That's a physical thing of people coming together, people deciding to commit. But the actual idea of marriage carries on deeper into this idea of Beltane, because it's about what's that marriage within ourselves as well. So it's not just an outer manifestation. The marriage happens within ourselves because all parts of ourselves, so we can just say the head and the heart, for example, align themselves together so that we can make the best use out of what summer's growth, that key theme, summer's growth has to offer us. So there is this thing of a marriage of people, of things within us coming together to work as one to make the best use out of what growth is available to you.
Yeah.
So that key theme of marriage is really important at this point in time, but not to be just seen as a relationship outside of our own selves. It's going on inside ourselves as well.
And it was also once seen as the time of the sacred marriage, the Haros Gamos, the marriage between the king and the land,
Mhm.
who would be represented by a high priestess or a goddess, or take your pick.
Yeah.
And it would be acted out as a physical union within temples and things like that, because it was seen in ancient cultures as guaranteeing the fertility of the land, basically, and the fertility of the next cycle, which was important to survival. So it wasn't it went from the profane to the sacred, basically,
Yeah.
at every level.
And
Yeah.
often, I mean, for me, when we see still in rural communities the May Queen and the May King, it's
Mm.
exactly what for me, the key one is exactly what you just said. It's not, as we often see it, just been
Mm.
taken as a sort of celebration of May. It is that May Queen is that symbol of the Mother Earth, and the King is that symbol of working in unison between those two and
Yeah.
coming together at this point in May.
Yeah. And up until the Christian church really sort of began to bite deep, this was a time when the May Day, the Beltane celebrations, what took place Beltane night was kind of like, it was outside time. So, lots of people snuck off into the dark, and Beltane babies were blessed babies, basically.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, and of course we have the tradition of the maypole, which is this kind of deeply phallic symbol
Yeah.
stuck in the earth, um, with people dancing around it, weaving the rhythms together, weaving that male and female energy together. So very, very deeply symbolic, and it's lovely to watch. Very few places still dance around the maypole on May Day, but when you see it done, it's a lovely tradition.
It is, and it also for me has, like I was saying about the other one, has an even deeper symbolism, because we talk about Beltane as being a festival of unification.
Yeah.
And unification is about things coming together. And what we notice in our own selves is that all the energy streams that we work with all come together. They are unified into one stream, which means that we can put all our energy in one direction. We're not sort of trying to put everything all over the place and dissipating that opportunity, because everything in nature at this point makes the best use
Mm.
out of this time of growth. There's
Yeah.
no divergence. It's nothing outside of this idea of really grabbing growth and running with it. And we have that ability within ourselves because, as we've talked about, we are nature, we're all one. This happens within ourselves. And the maypole is the actual symbol of that. So those ribbons are all these different streams of energy,
Mm.
and we weave them together into this incredibly beautiful pattern. But it's one pattern
Yeah.
that then goes forward. So the maypole was a symbol of a manifestation of what was going on inside ourselves, where all our energy streams, and you can see it within yourself suddenly, you'll just feel everything converge, and you'll be looking and developing one avenue of energy. So it doesn't mean it's just one thing you're working on, but it all sort of comes together so that you can literally put your energy behind one thing and use it in the best environment.
Yeah.
And the maypole was a way of bringing that in and symbolizing that in, with everybody dancing as well as the other traditions that you talked about as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very, very beautiful. And of course, if you feel into the land at this time, and anyone who's a gardener, knows this. This is the point. It's from this point over the next 6 weeks to the midsummer energies where we get that massive thrust of growth. If the trees aren't budding and already starting to come out where you are, that's what will be happening. The roses will start to come out, the flowers will really start to come out, all the blossom is out. It's this massive, massive forward surge of energy. It's been slowly creeping up from midwinter, working its way up through the land, and now it's a solar time, utterly a solar time,
Yeah.
where it's all outward.
Yeah.
radiating outwards, and nature just bursts into bloom and blossom and color, and and the birds are nesting, and yeah, I mean, what's not to love, basically?
Exactly.
What's
And
not to
it's really
love?
fascinating because when you say, for example, you sow seeds, 2 weeks prior from the beginning of May, you sow them, they'll come through eventually. You sow them up from May onwards, and it's almost like in front of your eyes. They're
Yeah,
straight up and going.
yeah,
It feels like they've got to capture the moment.
yeah,
That's a key theme for us in terms of when you're looking at Beltane and how you feel about Beltane is where can you capture that moment?
yeah. It's riding a wave, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
Mm,
really important that, you know, we're not looking inner, we're not looking back, we're looking firmly forward, and we're really trying to work with the moment that we've got and to make the best use out of it. Because, we have put ourselves in a position where we see our whole year being at the same pace and the same level, and it's just
mm,
continuous. Bang, 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 bang. But it never was like that. The idea was that you would do all your preparation, you build and build and build. And this is the point. These 3 months of summer would be completely about being able to really have that growth come through.
mm,
And then the 3 months of autumn also is growing, but things are shifting and harvesting and everything else that's going on that. So you do have these 6 months, but it's not about keeping that level that we come into in May
mm,
going throughout the year. So often we no longer feel quite the jump that it would have been because we're trying to keep ourselves at this position all the way through.
yes,
Whereas we can feel it in our excitement about talking about it, it suddenly should shoot it
mm,
within you and feel the same sap rising, for want of a better phrase, that
yeah,
you talked about, being in nature, being within us as well. And it's just a glorious time to do that. But there are things to do. There are still things to do. But
okay.
as we have gone through the spring,
Mm,
we have been further honing our commitments about what we're actually putting into this period of growth.
yeah.
So
Mm,
we started with our dedications, then we moved into a slightly stronger position of all our promises to ourselves, which we talked about last time. This time we're talking about vows,
mm,
the vows that we make help us deliver all the growth that we really want and all the growth that we've really got available to us.
yeah.
Again, when we talk about that idea, it's marriage. Obviously, vows come into that idea
Mm,
of marriage, but they're also vows we're making to ourselves to
yeah.
make the best use out of the growth.
Yeah.
Holds us to account. And this is the point of real commitment when the dedications can be sort of, strategic. The promises hone that a little bit more. Yes, we're promising to do all of this for ourselves to
Mm,
help deliver this. Now it's like, no, no, this is now what I'm going to put my energy behind, and I'm
yeah.
just going to move forward on it now. The universe may help to tweak and change it, but we are literally committing to something and moving forward on it
Yeah.
now.
And this is what sorts the men out from the boys, basically, doesn't it? Because if you make a vow, you commit to it, you stick with it.
Yeah.
You're building a spiritual backbone within yourself. It's about integrity of self. You keep your promises. You keep the sacred vows that you make, not just in the outer world, but in the inner world as well. Even more importantly, I think, in the inner world. So yeah, and those who sort of say, well, this is what I'm going to do, but never do it, and things like that, that is the only one really let down is yourself. So you need to think about that and think about um yeah, building that sort of rod
Mhm.
within yourself, that backbone within yourself, with integrity, being true to yourself, being true to your vows, both on the outer planes and in the inner world as well.
And it's the true way the universe can help step up and meet you
Mm,
when you show that commitment, you show those vows, and this is what I'm putting behind it, and therefore I expect to be met
yeah.
for whatever I'm doing because I'm not hedging my bets and trying
Mm,
to do absolutely everything just in case, oh, am I sure? I don't really know what I'm doing. It's like, no, no, this is what I'm going to do.
yeah.
Even if it turns out that it's not quite what I thought it was going to be, I've made my vow, I'm sticking to it, and I'm delivering on it.
Yeah, yeah,
You get so much more out of that
yeah.
because the vow, when we're talking about this growth, has three parts to it. It helps give us direction,
Mhm.
clearly, moving in the way that we want to move. It also highlights for us where there is restriction or where there is things that are we're still unsure about or nervous about.
Mm.
Really helps bring that to the fore so we can deal with it. But the third one, which is the one we nearly always forget about, is that it helps motion. It helps us move forward. It gives us a momentum. And
Yes,
we need that. We need to make sure that we move and we make full use of that growth. So those three things, direction, restriction, and momentum, are
yeah,
really important. And they come from us sitting down and making those vows to ourselves.
yeah. Uh,
Finding
uh, and there is something I would just stick in here, which is the universe always likes to test you.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, so so you make this commitment, you make this vow, you begin to move into action, expect to be tested.
Mhm.
Something happens and a bright shiny object is dangled over in this direction just to see if they can distract you off course or whatever it might be.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
Absolutely always, because they, especially there's a necessity to know that what you're asking for is actually what you really want.
yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
you are completely thrown off course by something shiny in the corner,
Mm,
then there is a great swell of thought that says, well, were you really sure that that's what you were thinking of doing, and that's what
yeah.
you're doing?
Acts at two levels. One, it's a test. It's a
Yeah.
test. Come back and check and double check that yes, what you have committed to is right. That you are not working from a point of illusion or delusion.
Yeah.
But it also comes back to what you mentioned a little bit earlier. Do you have the backbone to see this through, or are you easily distracted?
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
And so, I mean, there are lots of things that you can do to celebrate Beltane. It is another for the fire festivals for sure. So anything to do with candles or fire, if you've got the opportunity to
Oh,
do with
bonfires. Great
fire,
time for bonfires, isn't
it's
it?
really, really good for that. Not only the smoke, but actually being able to cast things into fires, all that sort of stuff. The other thing which is really useful to do is sometimes I've created an actual incense.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
bringing together different herbs or oils with sort of the frankincense, which is the actual sort of burning material. And it's a really good time to really think about what those different ingredients might mean to you for
Mhm.
about where you're going. So there are lots of things around at the moment. I may obviously, as I say, to read Hawthorne, but if you can go into different elements and see if there's symbolism of them, and it's readily available online, you can just look up symbolisms of plants, what's resonating for you, and to kind of create some sort of incense or something that means something to you because you put your energy into that creativity,
Mm,
then you can ignite that and you can look at spelling out your vows or
yeah.
offering your vows to something that isn't just about setting up a fire, which, if that's all you've got, works really well as well.
Yeah.
You can add things to it, really add elements into that, then it becomes even more potent, even more powerful for you as well.
Yeah. And there's a wonderful old tradition which all you ladies out there might like to try, or maybe the gents as well, which is that if you go out on May Day morning and gather the dew and wash your face in the dew, it will keep you youthful for the rest of the year.
Yes, yes, it
There you
is.
go.
Yeah, you should be getting up at whatever it is, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and
Yeah.
bathing in the dew.
Mm,
It was said to be restorative. And, I think that's gone through in terms of that idea of youth and beauty. But what it was said to be was really restorative for us.
yeah, yeah.
It really meant to enliven us and wake us up and bring us out. In fact, it's been fabulously interesting this week. So many people have got in contact with me with ways of saying, "Well, I'm just coming out of what feels like a hibernation, and I just feel I'm just beginning to poke my head out the doors."
Mm.
Well, that whole idea of encompassing what May had to and going out and bathing in the dew was about enlivening us,
Yes.
bringing us out, bringing us up, and accepting the shift from spring to summer because it's
Yes.
very different energy.
Yeah, it is.
And don't allow yourself or ourselves to dwindle or dawdle into spring and continue to want to pull it through. It will go. April is our last month of spring.
Yeah.
Become enlivened. Use the Beltane celebration to really enliven and give yourself that gift of growth and
Mm.
make the best use out of it going forward. Because as with everything, it is fleeting, but while it's here, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it is, and it is such a strong energy, and it matches, it balances with Samhain.
It does.
You know, the veil is very thin at Samhain. This equally so. It's the counterpoint to that. The veil is thin at Beltane, so it's another point where it's maybe easier to walk between worlds.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And your guides come closer. You can really feel that you can feel your support team
yeah,
really, really strongly around this sort of time as well. And that's, when you're making vows, that's witnesses. That's the people that are there that are
mm,
standing with you, waiting to hear what those vows will be and what will take you forward on it. But what's also useful at this time is because those two are such a balance, is to actually spend some time reflecting back to where you were at Samhain. Because part of Beltane as well is to show gratitude.
mm,
There's a lot around expressing gratitude for how far you have come,
yeah,
you yourself, your being, your essence,
yeah,
how far you have come, and looking at Samhain and understanding where you've come from to get to this Beltane point is
mm,
also a really important time. Show gratitude to yourself for everything you've done and how you've got to this point, but also just notice where your thinking was at Samhain. Where were you going? What was your ideas at that point for what this year might deliver to you or what you wanted out of this year? But it is a really important balance point. And then we do the same when we get to Samhain. Well, where were we at
yeah.
that?
I think that, it's really important because things are changing so fast at the moment. The energies are moving and shifting and expanding and contracting. And, it is thinking back, just 6 months, the changes that have come in that. I mean, I am not at any level the same person I was uh in November now, but because so much has shifted and changed and so much of it has expanded out, and I'm seeing the world, from different levels of perception and different understandings, and it's unfolding so fast at the moment.
Yeah.
So taking that moment to just look back, appreciate where you are, how far you've come, before you look forwards again, and yeah, jump into the next part of the great adventure that is unfolding around us at the moment.
And that's a really key point. And in terms of, as well, what I've been getting through a lot is because of all those changes. When you look at what's happening in nature, things are putting down roots. I mean, they're literally pulling things down right into the earth,
Mm,
setting themselves, grounding. And I know in previous ones we've talked about it, but for some reason it keeps coming up for me at the moment that round this Beltane is to really check in with your grounding again. Push
yeah,
those roots down further. Look at what's happening in nature and emulate it. It's sending roots out even more, even further, even deeper. Grounding does nothing to restrict how high you can fly. In fact, the opposite. It allows you to fly as high as you can
mm,
when you are well grounded. And
yeah,
so that, for some reason, this Beltane more than others, it's coming as a key theme. Check
yeah,
in grounding, get
yeah.
that solid, push further down as is happening in nature.
I would say, do this at both the esoteric and the physical levels. I mean, really envisage your root chakra, and go to the core of Mother Earth,
Mm.
really connect into the core, as you say, get that very, very, very deep connection to allow to allow you to sort of really, really expand into the higher frequency energies without kind of losing touch with the earth, as it were. But also, I mean, there were an immense amount of electrical energies, new electrical energies and things are flowing in at the moment. I mean, I sleep grounded, I work grounded. You know, I'm out gardening, you know, and grounding through the earth at that level all the time. And I'm still touching my car and getting sparks and, you know, things like this. I mean, it's like, well, what do I have to do? So, yeah. And again, at this time of year, particularly if you're in the northern climes where, you know, things are a trifle chilly a lot of the time. Yeah, this is the time we can begin to shed our socks and, you know, maybe just paddle about a bit outside in bare feet, because there's nothing like that for pulling excess current out of the body and just soothing and calming out. I mean, it's immensely anti-inflammatory within the physical body to be able to do that. Got a lot of health giving benefits. So yeah, lots and lots.
If you
Lots
can
and
do
lots to do.
that on Beltane morning, we talked about washing ourselves in dew. If there's nothing more that you can do but to find a way to get outside, take your shoes and socks off, and put your feet on the grass,
Yeah,
wherever that be, whether it be if a garden, if you have it, or a public park or something,
yeah,
that is as good a celebration of Beltane
yeah, it is.
as doing anything more elaborate, which are wonderful and we can all do. But that,
Yeah,
for me, just being able to do that, I often, if I'm going for a run on Beltane morning, I will stop at part of that and take off my shoes and socks
yeah,
and do a section of running on the grass
yeah.
just in bare feet.
Yeah.
Just
At the same time, you can take your consciousness down into the core as well and make that connection. I mean, it's very simple to do. It's the work of moments.
yes, it absolutely is. And it's just your time. There's no and nothing else that has to come in to do that.
Yeah.
Just and the seeking the joy of that
Mhm.
underneath your feet as well. It's a very sensory experience, but it's also a very good way to connect into the earth and to connect into the earth as well.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, thank you for your time once again. And yeah, great talk. And I hope all of you out there have enjoyed it. We shall be back in about 6 weeks' time, and it will be midsummer. I mean, it's like, where has the year gone to? Scary thought, midsummer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you know, join Jeremy and I again in about 6 weeks' time. And in the meantime, have great fun. Beltane, you know, if you can't have fun at any other time of the year, Beltane's the time for it. So make the most of it. Okay, lots of love to you all. See you.
Bye bye.
Bye.